What happens when the company you've given over a decade of your life to suddenly tells you that you're easily replaceable? Most people would swallow their pride and keep their head down. But what if, instead, you turned that insult into the very weapon that would destroy them? This is the story of how a woman's loyalty was betrayed, how arrogance underestimated her worth, and how one powerful move shook an entire company to its core. Stay with me, because the ending is so satisfying. Even the industry still talks about it today. My name is Isabella Reyes. I'm 47 years old, and for more than 12 years, I worked as a senior government contracts specialist at Summit Edge Engineering, a mid-sized firm based in Denver. For over a decade, I dedicated my life to cultivating relationships that kept the company alive, defense contracts, procurement clearances, and projects worth tens of millions. I knew every corner of the industry, every officer's quirks, every timeline, every technical detail. And then one morning, after returning from a week-long vacation in the Rockies, I walked back into the office refreshed and ready to dive in. But instead of a welcome, my manager, Michael Harrington, smirked at me across the lobby and said the words that would change everything. "Glad you're back, Isabella. Just remember, you're easily replaceable." No, "How was your trip?" No, "Good to see you." Just that dagger, delivered with smug confidence. I placed my bag on my desk and forced a polite smile. "Thanks for letting me know, Michael." He chuckled like he'd just delivered a brilliant punchline and retreated into his glass-walled corner office. I watched him adjust his tie and admire his reflection in the computer screen, a habit he had whenever he thought he'd won. Michael had been promoted 3 years earlier during a company restructuring. Before that, I'd worked directly under David Langford, the CEO and founder. David had trusted me, valued my expertise, and knew how important my connections were. But when the board decided Summit Edge needed fresh leadership, Michael was brought in, armed with an MBA, no government clearance, and plenty of arrogance. From the very beginning, it was obvious he had no idea what he was doing. That morning, I sifted through nearly 50 emails about the Halcyon defense contract, a $25 million project Summit Edge had landed, thanks to me. I'd spent half a year nurturing it, building trust with procurement officers who normally took years to budge. The phone rang. It was Colonel Rachel Simmons from the Department of Defense. "Isabella, glad you're back. We need to discuss the adjustments for Phase 2. I smiled. "Of course, Colonel. Let me pull up the specs." As we wrapped up, I could hear Michael on the phone through his office wall. He was talking to David, boasting about his team's success and how good leadership makes all the difference. I'd heard it 100 times before, him taking credit for my work. But that morning, something shifted inside me. Not anger, clarity. I started at Summit Edge right out of the Navy at 27. Back then, I was a logistics officer who specialized in procurement for highly classified projects. David hired me himself, telling me he needed someone who understood that government contracts weren't about paperwork. They were about trust. He was right. Over 12 years, I became the face of Summit Edge for every military base and federal office in our portfolio. My security clearance was higher than anyone else's in the company. Clients asked for me by name. They trusted me, not the brand logo on my business card. And Michael? He had none of it. No clearance, no relationships, no idea how fragile and personal these contracts really were. 3 days after his easily replaceable jab, I sat in my car outside the office, engine idling, staring at my phone. A text lit up the screen. "Isabella, still interested in the position we discussed? Call me. Olivia Grant, CEO of Titan Strategies." Titan Strategies was our fiercest competitor in the government contracting space. Olivia and I had spoken casually at an industry conference months earlier. She'd hinted they were looking for someone with my experience, but at the time I brushed it off. Loyalty mattered to me. But Michael's words kept echoing in my head. Easily replaceable. I thought about Colonel Simmons, who refused to speak to anyone else but me. About the Wright-Patterson contract renewal, the Aberdeen negotiations, and the countless officers who relied on my expertise. Michael couldn't even pronounce half their names, let alone manage their expectations. I picked up the phone and dialed Olivia. She didn't waste time. Isabella, I'll be direct. One of our senior partners just retired. We need someone immediately. Full partner track, equity stake, and you keep all your government relationships. They belong to you, not us. What do you say? My breath caught. How soon? 1 week, if possible. I looked through the office window at Michael, waving his hands in a call with David, pretending to understand the very contracts I had built. Send me the paperwork, I said. The next morning, I printed my resignation letter, 2 sentences long, and handed it to David directly. His face went pale as I explained I'd accepted a position at Titan. Michael wasn't even around when I packed my things. But by the time he returned from his 2-hour power lunch, I was loading the last box into my car. I caught his expression as he realized what was happening. I smiled, started the engine, and drove away. That same evening, my phone buzzed. A message from Colonel Simmons. Halcyon contract canceled, effective immediately. I won't work with anyone but Isabella Reyes. By the end of the week, 2 more contracts, worth over $20 million combined, collapsed. Every officer I had worked with over the years made it clear. No Isabella, no deal. Inside Titan's sleek downtown headquarters, Olivia grinned at me. You knew this would happen, didn't you? Not this fast, I admitted. But I knew Summit Edge underestimated me. By Monday, Summit Edge had lost nearly $50 million in active contracts. David called me, desperation in his voice. Isabella, we need to talk. This is bigger than you and Michael. Is it? I asked evenly. Michael thought contracts were just paperwork. But government contracts aren't business. They're relationships, trust, security clearance, years of credibility. Michael doesn't have any of that. We'll get him clearance. It takes 18 months minimum, I said. And even then, clearance doesn't buy trust. Colonel Simmons has worked with me for 8 years. She's not starting over with someone who doesn't even know the acronyms. The silence on the line was almost satisfying. What do you want, Isabella? He finally asked. I want Michael to understand that some people aren't replaceable. Over the next 3 weeks, Titan not only absorbed every contract Summit Edge lost, but gained 6 new opportunities worth more than $70 million. Officers I had worked with personally reached out, eager to continue partnerships with me under Titan's banner. Meanwhile, Michael tried everything: damage control meetings, spin-filled emails to the board, even suggesting that losing contracts was a blessing in disguise. But word spread fast in the defense contracting world. Procurement officers shared stories. Michael became infamous as the man who called the wrong person replaceable, and lost nearly an entire government division overnight. By the end of the quarter, he was fired. 6 months later, I was sitting in Colonel Simmons' office signing the renewal for the Halcyon contract, this time under Titan Strategies. She leaned back and smiled. Isabella, I've worked in procurement for 15 years. I've seen a lot of executives come and go. But your old boss? He's a cautionary tale now. I laughed softly. He thought contracts were Summit Edge's to keep. Turns out they were mine all along. And that was the truth. For years, I thought I was working for Summit Edge. But the clients had always been working with me. The company was just a logo on the invoices. Michael never understood that. And by the time he realized, it was too late. So what do you think? Was Michael's downfall inevitable, or did he bring it on himself by underestimating me? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story of betrayal, arrogance, and sweet revenge, don't forget to subscribe to Tales Between Time for more unbelievable stories that prove loyalty and respect are worth more than any corner office.